Excited for a road trip? Start it off right with auto coverage from American Family Insurance. J.D. Power ranked us #1 in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance shopping experience among mid-size insurers. Get a quote at amfam.com.
American Family Insurance.
For J.D. Power 2021 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Spirits asked you all to choose the horror films your hosts would view. Now Carter, Doge, and Jordan must satiate the monster's bloodlust. Their reckoning is overdue in the horror of Chunktober II.
Hello and welcome to Two Chunks and a Hunk. My name is Jordan Wonders, and this week I'm the hunk this time. One hunk this time.
To the left. Yeah. Wow. How cool are we?
The coolest.
Do you mind if I have a turn?
I'd love that.
Like, I don't know if do you have any more to say? I didn't want to give you space right here.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Doge.
Everybody hunk your hands.
I'm Doge, and if you want to get chunky, we can get chunky.
Sorry for
I'm
laughing
Carter.
like Scooby-Doo.
I'm Carter, and I thought about reading this entire. Well, I'm definitely not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not doing that.
People who read long quotes for this part do
Carter,
suck.
Do you not have your phone on night mode? Like dark
night mode? What is night mode?
You're not a dark mode boy?
I don't know how to do that.
He just got an iPhone. Wait, you don't have the IMDb app, do you? You're on the website.
Oh no, that's the app.
That sounds like he's
impossible.
covering. That sounds like he's covering.
That's
up.
impossible.
No, it's the app.
No, it's definitely the app.
I'm Carter, and
Yoda.
who are you people?
We're Chunkins. Chunkins.
Americhunks is what I should have said.
A Chunkins?
I'm just throwing off
a Chunkins.
Persecution. Sorry.
Americhunks.
This is the app.
Seems like it.
How do I do night vision?
Night vision. You're going to go, this is good. This is good for everybody, actually, I think. Let's go
Everybody
to
listen up.
settings.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to open up settings, and then you're going to
IMDb
open
settings or phone settings?
No. Phone settings.
Okay.
You're going to open up your phone settings. You're going to go to
I caught myself
display.
looking at my phone like my parents would.
Display and brightness. And then at the top where it says appearance, you got light and dark.
Wait, this is you're going too fast, kiddo. Okay, great. Dark.
You're going to go ahead and hit dark. Yeah, it's infinitely better.
It's way better. It's way better. Listen, everybody, be on dark mode. The other thing that you should know is we'd also like to know is why is Jordan the hunk?
Well, I had a different reason, but I feel like it should be for opening up the eyes of Carter and everyone else to the beauty
open
of dark
the eyes
mode.
of my heart, Jord.
I thought it was going to be open the eyes of my
Phil.
dark mode, but it's all good.
That was just
I'm a
Phil
little bit off
Collins,
today.
Peter Gabriel.
It's okay.
Thanks for that prog rock version of that song.
It's not that far off. I'm the hunk because I made my first batch of chili of the season.
Amazing.
It was delicious.
For those of you that don't know Jordan well, that was a big poop.
It was. It was
Every fall season.
Yeah, once a year. No, I made a big old crock pot of chili. I'm a crock pot chili guy. Let those flavors really get to know each other.
Okay.
Simmer together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, typically, I'm making chili with ground turkey for the healthy.
Yeah, good for you.
And I like to get a little experimental, but this time I did not because we made chili for a friend that was coming to dinner. So I wanted to go as straight down the middle as possible with this
Traditional.
one.
Let them know where your chili is.
Give them a baseline.
You got to establish a baseline if you're ever going to deviate.
But we are a Fritos under our chili kind of a family. So Fritos in the bowl first, chili over top, and then.
But it's not Frito pie.
I mean, at that point, it probably technically is, but it's. I mean, we made chili. Okay. I turned it into Frito pie, but I made chili.
Sure.
Right.
But I discovered last year that the jalapeno Fritos are really, really excellent. With chili. So that's what I was partaking in.
That's the thing that. So I'm a rice under chili kind of boy.
Never.
Rice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never.
It's very good.
Never.
Just trust me on that.
I've had it. It's fine.
I trust you.
I want a chili cook-off with it. So, I mean, I don't care if you guys think so.
Was
Obviously,
it at a church?
Enough people.
It was definitely at a church.
I'm not going to answer that question.
Definitely at a church.
Chili
I'm not
cook-off.
going to answer
Church.
that
People
People know
like you're
about
on a Netflix
chili.
special.
I'm not going to answer that question. But the thing that
You just probably had a really clever name. What was your chili called?
I didn't. Chili. This is Doja's chili.
You don't get to name it's just Doja's chili? Never mind.
I probably could have named it.
It must have been a good chili.
It's a good chili. I'm good at making chili.
You are. You're a good cook.
I'm good at making chili.
You're a good cook.
Yeah, a good cook. The thing that really frustrates me about my good friend Jordan is that
I already know what you're going to say.
Is that he puts wild chips on stuff at all times. Any food that you cook for him or he cooks for himself.
No, that's not true.
Is subject to a totally wild
sandwiches and chili.
A totally wild chippening.
Sandwiches.
I
and
made
chili.
I made chili. I made chili one time and shared it with. It was me and my wife Jess and Jordan and Callie, and I made some chili and we shared it. And Jordan was like, "Dude, this is good chili, but you know what would honestly make it better? Some lime Doritos Takis, and put it in there." And the thing that sucks is how much better that made the chili.
Doge was furious.
I was so mad.
I was
Listen,
like, I promise, dude,
out.
this slaps. And he was like, no way. And I was like, just try a little bit. And he did. And then he didn't talk to me for 30 minutes.
You haven't had a good grilled cheese until you've had it with cinnamon Funyuns. Now hear me out.
Excuse me?
I'm just giving a random example of
cinnamon Funyuns.
I just wanted to come up with a random chip.
You have to go to jail now. Cinnamon Funyuns is terrible. Actually, hang on. Wouldn't cinnamon Funyuns just basically be the cinnamon twist from Taco Bell?
Yes, they would. Same texture and everything.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's exactly the
same.
same.
You act
You're
like
welcome.
I carry around fun-sized snack bags of chips so that I can add them to any food.
Listen, hang on. Look in your camera and tell me you wouldn't do that.
Only if I was making impromptu sandwiches or chilies.
For my birthday, which happened about a week ago, we were going to host, we did end up hosting a bunch of people. We changed our plan for food, but we were going to do chili. And it's the kind where you just put it in the fun size bag of Fritos and just eat it out of the bag.
Yeah.
So we ordered the chip box and didn't end up doing chili. So now we have 48
so many Fritos.
fun-sized
Just a bunch of Fritos.
bags of Fritos, which is not a bad thing. I feel like we're just ready. I don't know how to
chili
explain it.
season, yeah. It's not a bad thing at all.
At the state fair a couple of weeks ago, this is the last chili thing. We've been talking about chili for a minute. At the state fair a couple of weeks ago, I had a deep fried Frito pie, which was among the best fair foods I've ever had.
I had that too. It basically
It's
looks
very
like a...
It's like a taquito,
like
basically.
an egg roll.
Yeah.
Like a flauta. Yeah.
It was...
Ooh, you guys.
it was so very...
But it tasted like it was going to rip up on the way out.
Yeah, I think the portion
yeah.
was perfect. I think if
Yes.
there was any more of it, I would have been like, maybe puke. But
Yeah.
Maybe
for what I had, it
puke.
was good.
Maybe puke. Who knows?
In spite of all this fall talk, though, it is still, at least on our podcast, it's still technically, it's October 33rd.
What season do you think Halloween happens during?
Well, there's the crispy, there's the spooky fall and crispy fall,
Mm-hmm.
right? Crispy fall is November
Mhm.
and the beginning of December.
Sure.
But spooky fall is the month of October. And here on our podcast, it's October 33rd.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's October 33rd because we are wrapping up Chunktober II with our dear listener, your first place vote. The movie you most wanted collectively to hear us talk about. It won by a country mile.
Sure did.
And that movie is Us. And if we're going to talk about it, which I intend to, I'm going to need for Doge to synopsify me.
It's the final IMDb Scarenopsis of the year.
Mm.
And this one is written by Jesus Black-30225.
Okay.
I think that's Jack Black's more holy brother.
In order to get away from their busy lives, the Wilson family takes a vacation to Santa Cruz, California, with the plan of spending time with their friends, the Tyler family. On a day at the beach, their young son Jason almost wanders off, causing his mother Adelaide to become protective of her family.
Sorry, real quick. He does, in fact, wander off. There's no
Almost.
almost. He does wander
But
off.
he almost does, and then he does.
Almost.
And then he does.
He almost does first, then he does after.
That night, 4 mysterious people break into Adelaide's childhood home where they're staying. The family is shocked to find out that the intruders look like them, only with grotesque appearances. The end.
What? That's the end of the
it.
synopsis?
That's it.
I'm pretty sure it's not her childhood home. I'm pretty sure it's like a vacation home. Right? Am I wrong?
I thought it was her childhood home.
Is it? Okay.
I'm pretty sure she grew up there because she
Could've
finds
been
like a box
misread.
of her old stuff, and she's got the ballet room.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But you know what? She never had a treehouse. It was the valet room the whole time.
Dang.
And that's a good solid reference to the episode we've definitely already recorded.
Yeah, it's already done for sure. It's definitely
Finished it.
happened. Here's the thing. This movie had everything going against it. I feel like being like a follow-up movie after Get Out, which is arguably
It's a pretty
like
weird sequel.
the
Yeah.
most. Yeah, it's super weird. I didn't see Chris anywhere. But just like coming after one of the most critically acclaimed horror movies of recent memory, being Jordan Peele's follow-up. And I feel like this movie gets a worse reputation than it deserves.
I think so.
Like
Yeah.
its rating on IMDb does not reflect the quality of the movie to me.
I think it's certainly not perfect.
Yeah,
but
of
I
course,
think
of
it
course.
had to be perfect for people to say it is good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right.
I think that's that's so tough to, I only bring this up because I'm just literally talking about like media ecology and stuff in a course that I teach. And we talk about the like criticism and how much more of a player it is culturally, just on so many fronts. I can't imagine like everyone gets to know how you feel about a movie. Like you don't have
Yeah.
to talk. It's not water cooler talk anymore. So there's certain pressures that the Denis Villeneuve's and Jordan Peele's of the world that their career only started, a decade or less ago, have to go through. And I can feel it as a movie watcher. I want it.
Yeah.
I want to will the good things to happen. And
Right.
yeah, people are harsh for sure.
Yeah, but then I also feel like there is, so I'll give you an example. My grandmother-in-law, her name is Mimi, and we love Mimi very much. She is great. That cruise that we went on was for Mimi's 80th birthday.
Wow.
And we found out after coming back from the cruise that Mimi watched us for the first time on the cruise in 20-minute increments from a TV that was like about the size of a large iPad from the
Little
TV
cruise TV.
speakers, had the captions on. She was just
I
like,
heard Chris Nolan shooting a separate commercial just for Mimi,
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, this is
Don't
how you're
do
not
this.
supposed
Hey,
to watch
don't do
movies."
this.
Yeah,
and she had the gall to tell me that movie doesn't make sense. I was like, well, Mimi, I don't think the way you watched it makes sense. And she said, touche. Touche, she said. Yeah, I think that this is a much more subtle metaphor than Get Out's metaphor.
yeah,
It's a little less in your face with the exact spelled out, here's what I'm actually saying. And in some ways, for me, that's a win here. That it gets to live a little more in the mysterious and a little more in the strange,
yeah.
because it doesn't ever have to have a moment where it's like, And that is just like oppression.
Yeah, right.
Sure, yeah, because it's about privilege.
Right.
Right. The privileged class quite literally living above the underprivileged class of folks. I will start it off with a super dump, though.
Okay.
I do think, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And so though her formula was wrong, I think Mimi's conclusion is at least a workable conclusion.
Did you just call my grandmother-in-law a broken clock?
Well, she's right twice a day.
Yeah,
I'm not even.
That's more than me sometimes. Yeah,
I'm
that's
not even a clock at all. I'm right 0 times a day. But I think that there is probably a shred of truth in that this movie doesn't make sense because the explanation at the very end, when we go full, hey, here's exactly what happened. I lived off rabbits for years, and sometimes the upstairs people control the downstairs people, and sometimes the control link doesn't work, and sometimes it's clones. I think that stuff is pretty wholly unnecessary.
Yeah.
And I think the movie actually suffers for that. I think it's a much better movie if the whole time we're just like, where are these downstairs folk coming from?
Yeah, right. I agree.
And everybody just sees a double of themselves. But the fact that we know like it started with clones, and so that doesn't make any sense at all because
if they stopped the program, how are their clones of her kids?
How are their clones of her kids? Like it's
which I guess if 2 clones of the same people.
But then that same sperm's not going to find the same egg, which is probably the first time we've ever gone that clinical on this podcast about Wii Sports. But
sure.
You know what I mean? Like it's not going to result in her exact
racket's not going to find that tennis ball.
Exactly.
Nope. What if in Jordan Peele's directing career, what if Us happens first and then Get Out? I don't know if it's too different on how people feel about him. It feels like people would think he's on the uptick, but Us wasn't so far down from Get Out that they already thought he was washed,
Right.
Us, for me, you talk about it not making sense. It's just because Get Out made so much sense, in my opinion. Like Get Out was like, oh my goodness, we tied a bow. Like we wrapped this one up.
Exactly.
And then with Us, it ends up kind of being more like a traditional horror movie outside of all the craziness in there.
Yeah.
It's like we get maybe 30 minutes in and now it's just don't die, right?
Yes.
Which feels like most 80s, 70s horror movies.
Sure.
Right?
It's like a slasher movie, basically.
It's like not caring whether or not Halloween made sense. It doesn't need to make sense. It's here to have a fun chase experience,
so
right?
That's what all the explanation at the end, whenever Red, the real girl, is explaining to Adelaide, the downstairs girl, like exactly what her plan has been. That feels like something that would have been in the sequel to a great horror movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it feels like in 1980 we made Us, and it's just somehow there's more of us and we're trying to escape from our exact copies. Us 2 starts with a story about a mad scientist who made clones that he tried to, and it's like over explains the premise.
Yeah.
It just didn't, that's the part that didn't work for me. And that's where I'm going to be Team Mimi and say that part doesn't make sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually kind of with you on this. Mostly, I'm about 90% of the way in agreement with you, in such a way that my super dump is also the over explanation of everything.
Yeah.
But it's weird. I think you're saying this too. I like the murkiness of the metaphor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the metaphor works better if we don't explain it, because the metaphor as it stands now is a little muddied by the explanation of like there was a switch and somehow a underprivileged lived the life of a privileged.
No, I like that. I like that part being clear to us that they did switch places, because I think that drives home the fact that the only difference between these two groups of people is where they grew up.
The specific twist,
the fact that Red could come up top, become Adelaide, and live a normal life shows that there's nothing different from her. It's just that she was underground and Adelaide was not.
The explanation to get to that point, I think, makes very little sense.
Sure.
And then watching this movie, like this is my second time to see it. So watching this movie with that knowledge, much of Adelaide, much of upstairs Lupita's actions do not make sense with that knowledge to me.
How so?
Unless upstairs Lupita, which is who it's so tricky, right? We're calling Adelaide the one who lived above ground, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I wasn't in my explanation just then, but I think that's the agreed nomenclature for fans.
Let's call the one who's a mom. Well, they're both moms. The main character is Adelaide. The villain, Lupita, is Red. Much of Adelaide's actions when confronted by Red do not make sense unless we're supposed to read it as Adelaide's afraid that Red is going to take her back downstairs. But then I think that's not quite the motivation that we're getting from the script from her at those various points.
Oh, I read it as she completely has convinced herself that she is the one that lived upstairs the whole time.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah, I didn't either. So you're thinking she's just remembering that they switched like on the drive at the very end?
I do.
I can see that in the script. I think more often than not, that's when we have those moments where it's like, what is happening? It's clear in the script and it's clear to the actors on set. It's just something is lost in translating that visually.
Mm.
But I think whether that's the intent or whether she knew all along, it needs to be a little more clear to me.
I think what's interesting in this conversation is that, again, Get Out has a massive influence. Not necessarily a cloud. I don't think it makes this movie worse, but there's a lot of movies that we have watched to where I would pump the fact that it's open to interpretation.
Sure.
That I think it's fun artistically to have your own opinions about it. That kind of gives a little bit more of an afterlife to a movie and to a story. But I think because it was just so point A to point B and Get Out, to have us be a little open-ended.
Well, I think it falls right in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Like either fully like monologue to the audience and tell us exactly what happened, or leave it completely open. But it feels like sort of the wrong amount of explanation.
Yeah, I tried
at
to
the
do
end of it.
both.
Sure.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, I agree with that. And it's a bummer because the ingredients of this movie are really fantastic. It just feels like, I don't know, it feels like the explanation doesn't belong. Yeah, that's why it's my super dump. I don't want to harp on it forever. That's why it's my super dump. It's just the explanation that we get is unsatisfactory to me.
Because the premise is so good.
Yeah.
Of like just on vacation and then suddenly these exact doppelgangers of us minus our eyebrows come.
Yeah,
and
totally.
they're trying to kill us. Yeah.
No explanation of the lack of eyebrows either, which is...
When you live underground, they fall off.
They fall off. Yeah.
They're important to protect you from the sun's harsh rays.
You ever seen a mole with eyebrows?
That's a good point.
Interesting.
Honestly, think before you speak.
Not
obviously.
Not in my day. I haven't. I'll tell you that right now. Let's talk about some strengths of this movie for just a few minutes. Soundtrack rules.
Soundtrack is very good.
Winston Duke rules.
Winston Duke is my super pump.
Really?
Nice. That's fun.
We don't get enough Winston Duke. I was looking through his IMDb. Boy hasn't done a whole ton of stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff he's done though is
stuff he's done. He's a standout ingredient in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Winston Duke's whole entire vibe in this movie is probably my favorite thing about it because the whole time he is so dad.
Yeah, very dad.
Just unbelievably dad. I would watch a whole movie of just Winston Duke versus every doppelganger. Winston Duke and the doppeldadders. 100%. I'm completely in on that.
When he's in the car and he's like, I killed myself and I killed Josh. That's two.
That's two. Yeah, he's just great. He is so, I don't know. There's some sort of je ne sais quoi about him that is so unbelievably dad.
Yeah.
Just very dad. This role feels like one that, were he not the director, Jordan Peele himself would play.
Totally.
And I feel
good point.
I feel like that's maybe why that role feels so magnetic to me, is Jordan Peele is basically writing a role for his own strengths and then casting a surrogate Peele in it. But this feels very tailored to Jordan Peele's own sensibilities as an actor.
Almost tethered to it.
Winston Duke is downstairs. Jordan Peele confirmed.
Jordan Peele, this movie, I think in a lot of ways is funny.
Yeah.
Funnier than Get Out was.
Totally.
Which is a huge strength for this vibe. A lot of that humor absolutely comes from Winston Duke. A lot of it comes from Tim Heidecker, who is very funny as just the worst
how funny.
douche.
How random.
Weird cast. Yeah.
But he's so good at it.
But
and
it's great. It's perfect.
When he is when he's the tethered version of Josh, and he's like stalking Winston Duke's character, whose name escapes me. Hold on, Gabe. When he's stalking Gabe onto the boat, and he's doing his like his whole like T-Rex
It
thing.
felt like a one take.
It's just
Felt like they just went with the first one. I'm sure they had a blast on this set.
Yeah, totally.
positive.
Elizabeth Moss?
Yeah.
Is she like Hollywood's #1 for intense close-up face
I think so.
scenes?
I think she's like, I'm a Scientologist, so your camera can get as close to my face as we want.
I was going to say,
fine.
it's all the Scientology flowing through her veins that keeps her.
I didn't even know
Exactly.
she was a Scientologist.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why it is deeply ironic that she's the titular handmaid whose tale we keep hearing of.
That's wild to me. I had
Yeah,
no idea.
But she really is fantastic.
Yeah.
In her,
Yeah, she's always good.
her death scene felt like it was about to turn into Scary Movie 2 when that girl's like, oh, did you kill, or Scary Movie 1 when she's like, oh, did you kill me? Was it going to be like this? And she's like stabbing herself for the guy, like the way she's crawling at them. And then the joke with her saying, call the police. And then they play FTP. It's just, that whole sequence is very funny and very well done and very scary with how quickly the tethered get into their house.
Yeah.
And it's just over.
Yeah. Creepy, like people just standing outside of your home is always going to spook me a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought strangers. I thought all sorts of stuff.
Now, okay, let me say this. I thought it was pretty dumb that the tethered lady's son was a dog mostly.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
I don't get it.
I think the whole thing is that these humans have had nobody to raise them.
Which makes it even weirder.
They're basically feral.
Because they should all act the exact same.
Yeah.
So it is weirder that he acts like a dog because he's probably never seen one.
So but if we don't know anything about them, if we don't know they're clones, don't know they have their own society, if it's just like suddenly these alternate versions of ourselves show up,
agree.
That's better to me. We don't have that question there.
I
thought the kids did a really, really good job.
I thought so as well.
Big time.
I was honestly, the first time I watched it and this time too, pretty surprised at how well each of their kids are able to pull off both the upstairs version and the downstairs version of themselves. Like they're both really good at being very scary and being very scared.
Yes.
At the same time. And I think that's just a pump in general of how everybody in this cast basically has to play two roles.
Yeah. It's Winston Duke, right? That's his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's like, he does such a good job. And we see his doppelganger first.
Yeah.
There was moments when I first saw this movie, this was my second time to see it as well, Doge, that I thought it was a different actor.
Yeah.
Like he was just the face he chose to use. I thought it was
the
awesome.
face, the
There were
no
moments
eyebrows, the longer beard. It's like you totally look like a different person.
He looks bigger.
He does. And like the things like the vocalizations, it's not even talking, I guess, but just like the like screams or whatever you want to call them that he does are just so unsettling.
Yeah, very much.
As far as just pure horror goes, for me, the two scariest scenes in this movie are the family standing in the driveway backlit by the streetlight.
Yeah.
And then when Red finally sits down at the chair in the living room and her son comes over and like puts his head on her lap and she talks for the first time.
Yes.
And tells the story, there once was a girl, that whole thing.
So I think
It's so freaky.
yeah, it feels like that could have been the whole movie. It feels like we could have started with them in the driveway and the very end of the movie is Red sitting down and talking for the first time.
You're not saying literally opening credits.
I'm not saying
and then
literally this
we're in
movie
the
is 20
driveway.
minutes
Yeah.
long. Right. I'm saying like in some way, I think the whole story of this movie can be contained. There's a version of it in which it's that one night
Yeah.
that they're spending running, hiding from their dog. Like if John Carpenter made this movie 40 years ago.
Right. And we wouldn't
Then
find out that it was happening to other people until they got to some place with electricity at the end.
Exactly.
And turned on the news and saw the line of people standing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be very interesting.
Yeah.
Who am I to tell Jordan Peele how to make a movie?
Exactly. Like I'm not trying to tell Jordan Peele, hey, your movie about the metaphors of class and privilege is a little muddy. Maybe work on that a little bit.
Ask yourself, what would John Carpenter do maybe next time?
Yeah. Why don't you try to copy a good director? Just see if you could do that for me.
No, it is tough because especially with somebody like Jordan Peele who is doing this genre-specific stuff and is coming out of the gate swinging so hard. It is almost impossible to have a discussion about Us without talking about Get Out as well.
Yeah.
Just because he has taken two swings at virtually the same genre and they have come off the bat drastically different flavors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like, so we haven't technically had a third Jordan Peele movie, have we?
No.
Right. Right.
Because everything else has been like,
he executive
production.
produced Candyman.
The third one is on its way. And I feel like, so here's my super dump, and it's going to be really hard to reference where it happens in the movie or just fully explain it. But I feel like Jordan Peele was a little bit too high on Jordan Peele in this movie. There was like, and it has nothing to do really with showing the, monkey paw production and like referencing back to Get Out. But even when you read the trivia and stuff about the movie, there were moments that I was like, is that referencing Get Out? Not that it's supposed to be a shared universe, but it's like, is that the point? And here's the thing too. I know that Jordan Peele really respects Hitchcock. And there's a lot of like Hitchcockian things about
I thought you said Hancock at first.
No.
Will Smith movie.
The Will Smith movie? No. Wow. Yeah.
I was like, that's his favorite? That's weird.
There would be like nods to certain things, or there's like, that just feels like such a Spielberg shot, or like if there's kids, it's Spielbergian, things like that.
Sure.
So it still feels like, we've got a sophomore movie here. And I kind of remember that because he felt like he was leaning so much on what he did in Get Out, which I feel like he could just come in here with a clean slate and do his own thing. But how could it not be on your mind, right? It's like a empathetic super dump here. But
yeah,
my super dump is just how much, and it's completely separate from, because I do like the love letter to so many horror movies that came before.
Sure.
I feel like that's something he didn't really get to do in Get Out, and he wanted to be able to do that in Us, because there's so many references to like just culture in general, but especially like The Shining, because we've got the twins, and the Invasion of the Body Snatchers and all sorts of stuff. But it just feel like there was too much of a Jordan Peele fan club, and when the person who is at the helm of the movie is the head of that fan club, it kind of feels a little bit icky to me. But
yeah, I can see that.
That's why I think the third one is going to just be, I would imagine that was going to be one of his best.
I think
that's
that
out of three, but
retroactively, Us will be seen as a bit of a sophomore slump for Jordan Peele. But I do stand by. I think it gets a worse rep than it deserves from a lot of critics. I agree that I do not think it is as strong as Get Out, or hopefully as, what's it called?
Yeah.
Nope.
It's called Nope. Yeah. The three leads are Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, and Steven Yeun, which is
fine.
That's a freaking great cast. Yeah. I'm super psyched about that.
If I have to watch it, I guess I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's pretty fantastic. That's a pretty great cast, actually. So the opening of the movie is very strong to me here in Us. The
Hands Across America opening at the like carnival.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody's performance here is very interesting. A lot of the, I love little weird details like the number 11 popping up so frequently, and 1 is 1 and 1 look exactly alike because they're the same number. I just love all that stuff. And so like little tiny details, and then things like even the racist ride, or not ride, but like attraction that she goes in is changed later when they come back. Yeah. Even though the inside's basically the exact same, they just slap a different name on it so that it doesn't hurt people.
Yeah.
So little things like that, I don't know. I find those things can add as much character to a movie as almost anything else. Which always draws me in. Yeah, I think the opening really 35 minutes of this movie are so strong.
I really honestly think it's maybe not perfect, but it's like a 9.5 out of 10 for the first hour.
Yeah.
We watch Tim Heidecker and Elizabeth Moss's family die. We watch their doubles arrive. That's at like the 1 hour mark. That's about at the midpoint of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think the first half of this movie is unbelievably strong.
Yeah. I agree with that. I like everything in that house, actually. Like all the way through that whole house.
All the way through those doubles as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Because that's when we get the conversation when they steal their Range Rover.
Does this mean we get their car?
Yeah.
Even like the overhead shot of the family going off to like a home, like the landscape shot of the car on the highway, which is totally The Shining.
Yeah.
All the homage was like super on point in that first hour too.
Yeah, I agree.
It really feels like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to keep harping on the ending of it, but it feels like we're kind of all feeling that energy. Like it feels like this is a really, really well-written, well-produced, well-directed homage to classic horror and kind of B-movie vibes of like, there's this unknowable slasher monster after us.
Sure.
And then at the very end,
Kind of misses the point.
It tries to take the turn into being like, actually, it was about class the whole time. I was like, no, I got that.
Okay, so I disagree only slightly because I think that it. You're going to say, duh. I know this isn't what you're saying. I just want to be very clear. I think it's about class the whole time. It's the side-mouthed whisper that the movie feels the need to do at the end.
Right.
That frustrates me.
Right. No, I think that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't need you to tell me it was about that. Like, that's pretty clear. The metaphor's pretty clear. You don't have to.
I think it makes itself murky when I get bogged down with like, okay, so this was like a Cold War experiment to control people up top with clones of themselves because the soul is tied between two people. So what they could make the bottom ones do what the top ones do, but it didn't work. So they abandoned it and just left all the clones. But then how are there clones of kids, you know?
Yeah, this might be spicy. I think it falls into the same trap at the end that Stranger Things has fallen into.
You're only saying that because I said the word Cold War. Get out.
Well, genuinely, the first season of Stranger Things, this unknowable monster from quite literally a parallel world that appears to be underneath us. This unknowable monster from the upside down is terrorizing us and stalking us, and we have to stop it. And then Stranger Things 2 and 3 are like, actually, it's an experiment by Russian scientists.
It was in the first one too.
I'm saying that's fine. But leaning into like trying to explain we wanted to use the upside down for this and it's this and like giving it a bunch of rules.
I hear you.
Feels like the sequelizing of a really solid premise that we need to milk more story out of.
It works for me in Stranger Things for a variety of reasons that aren't present here in this movie.
Yeah.
But I definitely see the similarities. 100%. The other similarities that I see are similar to every episode we've ever done. It's time for shout announcements. Welcome to Shout Announcements. It's part of the show where we give shout outs and make announcements. Yeah.
Okay. I was just waiting for the yeehaw. It felt appropriate.
Yeah. Sorry, I got to finish. Bing. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you enjoy our podcast, pay us. I mean, it's as simple as that. We have 2 tiers of Patreon. We have a $3 tier that gives you an extra vote and gives you extra episodes. Then we have a $5 tier that gives you that super extra filtered drip, caffeine full Discord channel. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a community that you get to have with a bunch of people that love movies as much as you know we love movies. And if you don't even really listen to us much, just look at our library. It's over 350 episodes now of us talking about movies, which is at least 200 hours of us. I'm kidding.
And that is a threat.
That is a threat. But yeah, we would love to have you in that community, especially as we're getting ready to do Box Office Ball Season 2, which will begin at the beginning of 2022. And so we've got some stuff set up.
This one is like,
I think
it's
I'm
like
gonna
the Box Office Ball. The first one
is the Box Office.
The Box
one that we
Office,
did was
the ball.
The first one we did was Box Office Ball when it was just us. And now that it's everybody, it's like, it's the Box Office Ball.
Yeah.
2022 Box Office 2 ball.
Two box, two office ball.
Yeah.
But that'll be coming soon. And I'm pretty sure at this point, we're just going to leave it wide open again, like we did in season 1, which either is going to mean one we're going to have one league that is going to have, you're going to have to do some big time draft research because there might be more than 20 teams in there. Or we'll do a couple of leagues, but I think I'm feeling one super league. And so it'll be tough.
That draft is going to be challenging.
Going to be very stressful. So all that is there, go for it. $3 or $5. It's up to you.
Something that is going to be totally free to you is to listen next week when we review Eternals. We're all going to see that in the theater where the big screens are that we missed for a long time, but now we're going back to it. So we'll be watching Eternals and reviewing that next week. We'd love it if you would take a listen to that.
And speaking of Marvel, it's me, Doge. I'm Doge, and I'm a cool guy and definitely not a nerd. I've made a point to say that over many weeks. I'm definitely not a nerd, except for listen to me talk about Spider-Man so hard. You've never heard anybody talk this aggressively about a fictional man before, and it's going to get crazy up in here. And I know everything because I'm not a nerd. I'm a cool guy. We're doing Spider-Man after Eternals. We're wrapping up the year.
Is this Jordan now? Is Jordan there? Can I talk to Jordan?
Always has been. We're wrapping up our year. We're going out strong. All Spider-Man all the way.
You might say we're going out swinging. On the web.
Wow.
There's that cool skater boy energy I've been looking for. We're going to hit every live action Spider-Man. And maybe a little non-live action Spider-Man.
Ooh.
Potentially.
Dead action.
Dead Spider-Man.
Dead action Spider-Man. What? Spoilers, I guess. But yeah, we are so excited. We're going to do all the Spider-Man movies leading up to No Way Home.
You got it.
I know.
It's the right home one.
I know what they are.
You
It's
did it.
Doge that didn't know what they are. I know what they are.
Oh.
That's true. See, I've got so much other Spider-Man knowledge.
No
rattling
room.
around in
No
this
room.
Big,
Can't really
beautiful
fit
gray
any of
matter
it.
of mine.
It's so wrinkly. Your brain. There's so many crinkles and wrinkles.
Every single wrinkle, though, has a little bit of Spider-Man
filled
in
with
it.
Spider-Man. So yeah, tune in. You're going to love it. Or your money back. That's not true.
Yeah, we'll give you all the money that you spend on listening to the free episodes of our podcast. We will reimburse you if you don't enjoy it.
You know what? That's
There
fair.
you go.
Unless you paid
I like
for like
that.
a Podcatcher premium app, then we're not going to do that.
Not that.
I'm going to go ahead and super pump because I'm realizing that Us is difficult to talk about.
It's quite hard.
It's a tough movie to talk about because it's so
because we get chased by our copies and then we explain what happened, and we don't any of us much like the explaining part, and we love the chased by our copy part, but it's hard to talk about chased by our copy.
my super pump for Jordan Peele's Us is Lupita.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Like incredible.
It might be the most lukewarm take in the history of our podcast. but
Nobody is like,
Lupita Nyong'o is an incredible actor.
yeah, nobody is like, what? You like her? She's amazing. Man, her mannerisms, the way she is afraid, the way she fears for her kids, the way she plays Red, so menacing and creepy, and that voice. Man, she's unbelievable. She's always good. I don't think I've ever been disappointed by a Lupita performance, but particularly here, she is just unreal. And I am a huge fan of her performance in Us. I think that she is one of the ingredients that elevates this beyond what could have been a weird mess.
Absolutely agree.
And this movie, in my opinion, if you don't watch it for any other reason, is completely worth the hour and 50-minute runtime just to watch her do her thing here.
Yeah. I'm so surprised at, well, maybe I'm not, but the Academy had no love for this movie at all. And either, I guess that was a strong year in other movies, or the Academy was influenced by the critiques or the people that said how much it was not Get Out. Because Get Out was a big deal for horror. We've already talked about that. We talked about it last year during Chunktober when we actually reviewed Get Out. And then we talked about it again this year that really Oscar acclaim didn't start happening much. It comes in big waves, right? There's always pretty good horror movies out. But yeah, to have Jordan Peele not have any kind of nomination for this movie, I bring it up after we talk about Lupita because you would think at least
she'd get some sort of a nod
I
here.
thought she would get
her
something.
heart out here.
Yeah.
The little ways,
right up there
the little
with the
ways
Colette.
that downstairs Lupita, the real downstairs Lupita, starts to bleed through into upstairs Lupita. Like especially during the climax of this movie when they're actually fighting each other.
Oh my gosh.
It's really, really great.
That
like,
whole scene
performance-wise.
that they're seen together down in the tunnels where it's like almost that dance and it's set to that 5 on it slowed down remix.
Yep.
It's really good.
It's so good. I forget that it's not actually 2 of her. You know what I mean? Like she's acting opposite a body double.
It's very
the whole
Parent
time.
Trap. It's very Lindsay
Yeah.
Lohan Parent Trap.
Yeah.
Which is, funny you say that. Lindsay Lohan was initially the first choice to play.
I did read that. Yeah.
I have to say this. You said that Lupita's like the reason to watch this movie. If nothing else, watch it for her. And that got me thinking if we ever did Lupita Nyong'o's series, we'd probably still end up talking about this movie. And we would have to call that one Take Another Lupita My Heart Now, Baby. And I think that would be a great name for a series, but maybe not a good joke for right here in our podcast. But I just have to say it.
It's good that it's out there. It exists.
Just had to get it out there.
One of my favorite things that we all do.
I was gonna feel sick if I didn't say that.
Puns
I love
time.
that all of us have this tendency to be like, I'm not going to say this, but this is what I would say if I was going to say it.
You should be saving for the future, but savings accounts suck, and investing can be scary. We combine the ease of savings with the real returns of investing. We call it Save Vesting, and it's only available in our new app, Stairs. Stairs offers 4 to 6% returns, no fees, and you can withdraw anytime. Do your future a favor. Visit stairsapp.com today.
This is not me officially saying this.
I'm not gonna make a terrible joke, but here's the terrible joke I would make if I had
If
no
I were
impulse
to, though,
control.
let me tell you about
If I were going to make this joke right now, it would go a little something like this.
I'm gonna bring us a blast from the past.
Okay.
It's time for a little bit of I Am Doo-Doo trivia.
Yay!
This movie has some in the goofs section on IMDb. It has what I can only assume is one user of this website who was furious at this movie. 36 of 70 found this interesting. The tethered are depicted as spiteful and vengeful, so why aren't they hunting down the government scientists who created and abandoned them? They're attacking innocent people whose only crime is not knowing their clones existed. But the tethered are not very bright, and Red, who set up their mission, has an element of religious fanaticism. It is not based on rationality.
Jeez.
Pretty
And
obviously.
that's a goof, huh?
Here's another goof, 59 of 83. Tethered presumably can die of old age and other natural causes or of blunt force accidents caused by inconvenient movements of their upper world analogs. Who removes the corpses and prevents disease from rapidly spreading through tethered land?
So we're laughing at that goof. I will say, if this movie kept it vague, that question would never exist.
That's true.
Yep. How is Red able to contact every single tethered across America to plan an attack on the country? The tunnels they live in do not seem to have any forms of long-distance communication. The tethered live on the meat of rabbits provided for them. Since the tethered are too stupid to understand cooking procedures, they would eat them raw, resulting in mass food poisoning. Furthermore, what do the rabbits live on? There are never any botanical or hydroponic gardens depicted in tethered land.
Jeez.
And rabbits are notorious for eating more than nature can provide. I was actually reading about this. If you eat only rabbit, it's a unique medical condition called rabbit starvation, which is where you get too much of the minerals that are in rabbit.
For real?
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
It's
There's an actual name
amazing
for it.
that this dude was able to write all of these goofs considering
Is that
he had
what
to
happened
step
to
over
Smeagol?
all of his pocket protectors.
Here's the thing, though. This person is just sort of formalizing and writing down the kinds of things we were all thinking through the first half of this episode of our podcast.
And I agree with that. The specificity is what's catching me here a little bit. Like it seems like the overall argument is kind of what we're saying. When you get really when you spell out what's going on, it invites questions about what's going on.
Absolutely.
When you don't spell it out, anything's possible. So we would be sitting here going, well, that's a dumb question. It doesn't matter. But because it has been shown to matter, now we're like, well, he's got a point.
Yeah, he's got a really good point. I do love the continued use of tethered land. I don't know if that's something that this movie, extracurricular texts about this movie call it tethered land, but that totally sounds like a tetherball themed theme park, which I would totally go to.
No.
I've only played tetherball twice and I got hit in the head both times.
We had tetherball on the playground in elementary school, and I was a tetherball fiend.
For real? That's amazing.
Yeah, I loved it.
Well, he's such a sports head. It's not surprising.
Do you see these muscles? They didn't come from the.
They're rippling.
They didn't come from the Iron Church. No, I got these out on the tether streets, on the tether court.
I'm trying to think of why Peele felt like we needed to know so much about tethered land, and I guess it could be because he wanted to make sure that Red had an audience for that dance. To have some kind of like communal decision to make her essentially the savior, you know?
Yeah.
But even then, I don't think we need the whole world, or at least all of America, to have someone on the upside down.
Right.
I don't know. And that might just be cutting up his attempts at symbolism, and I don't know.
But let it be symbolism then. Don't let it be literal. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to cut it up unless you tell us that there are pieces to take out of it.
Yeah. With all the literal stuff, though, it is a big part of my super pump.
Okay.
And I just loved the final scene. I really, really liked the final scene of seeing that line of people just stretching so far. I think it was just like imagined and shot so well, with just like smoke far in the distance. This feeling of really the world is kind of probably over for.
Right.
Like, I really think this family is going to die eventually. It's either that or it becomes, a Left 4 Dead movie.
Right.
It's like you're the only people left that aren't zombies, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
But I love the last scene. I think it was great with the music in the background and very faintly showing that red line that was going all across the country.
Yeah.
I dug that much.
Yeah.
That was cool. That felt unique and something that would go down as like, what represents this movie. I keep thinking of the minimalist poster that I had, and it just feels like a little red line of people hand in hand would be what represents us, or
like a paper chain of people.
Yeah, probably the scissors would be my guess. A pair of gold scissors cutting a paper chain of people.
Yeah. The imagery was super cool. Like, I love the reason for scissors because it's essentially mirrored images of two halves that have that opportunity to like cut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that all of them have an item at the end, essentially, that they used for killing bad people.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like most of it felt like super Caucasian things to have in your hand, like a putter and like the rock.
Yeah, they're like geode.
Oh, yeah.
Geode.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a Chewbacca mask that he's wearing, right?
Yes.
Gotta be.
That's gotta be a Chewbacca mask that I think they painted so they didn't have to pay Disney.
Right. It's definitely a Chewbacca mask. The twin daughters were very good at being spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is
love that we incorporated some gymnastics.
Spookiness. Like the flipping around is spooky dooky.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it, but I appreciated it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a difference there. I didn't like it, but I appreciated it. I think this movie, what we're finding in our discussion, and it's not something I expected, because it sort of begins to rip and tear at the end with over explanation, it takes away our ability to talk about it because there's no conjectures to be made.
Right, exactly. But there's also not enough of an explanation to talk about. Like, I think Get Out does this really well.
Right.
Like, I think there's a version of Get Out that We watch, we watch the different victims of this family disappear into this back room, and they come out and they're different. And we never know what happened. And then we talk forever and ever and ever about what is happening to these people. And then we have our version of Get Out that we know from our timeline, where we are very, very overt about it's this experimental brain swapping surgery that works because the mom hypnotizes them and puts them under, and then they swap their brains out. And like, that's enough explanation that it doesn't make sense. It's completely impossible, but it makes sense from a fictional perspective.
For us to go,
and we can talk about it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And we can buy into the whole premise and talk all about it. And it doesn't ask questions that if we answer them would break the rest of the story.
Sure.
And I think this just falls right in the middle of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I agree. And it's a little bit of a bummer. And I stand by, once again, it's my third time saying it. I stand by that this movie is not a 6.4 like IMDb says it is.
No.
Or 6.8 rather. But yeah, it's a shame that it had to come out after Get Out, but I don't think it exists without Get Out happening. So it's a real conundrum this movie has put me in. But it is time to rate it using the scientific cinema scale, which is perfect and as follows. The best thing we could ever say about a movie is own it, don't lend it. Buy that poster. The next best thing is buy it. That's followed by rent it and then stream it. After that is forget it. And last but certainly least, the worst thing we could ever say about a movie.
God hath forsaken us.
The first half of this movie is not enough for me to buy it. It's a rent for me. And there is a part of me that is such a Jordan Peele homer that I want to just will it to a buy, as if I have some kind of influence on whether or not someone's going to go watch Nope.
Right.
But I just can't do that with my own personal experience with this movie. It is just a rent.
No.
And were it not for the first half, who knows? I mean, I don't think it would be a rent. I think the first half of this movie, I think that's part of the thing that is disappointing us collectively is there was so much unnecessary there.
The promise of the first half
is
never quite
we never really
fulfilled.
feel like talking about like, I don't think we ever come to a consensus that's like, well, if you just dumbed it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
The promise is greater than the prestige.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to rent it for the exact same reasons. I think the premise itself, I think, is better than the movie it ends up being. I think a family at their beach house who is stalked by exact copies of themselves, only to realize everyone in the world is being stalked by exact copies of themselves. That's a fantastic premise.
Yeah.
And then I think the execution of it is like, I don't know. It feels like, honestly, it feels like the Star Wars prequels in a way, where it's like, you've done this great, respectable thing. And so I'm not going to tell you no or to workshop that idea a little more. And so you have a blank check, but also nobody to give you advice on how to spend it. And so a creator left to create in a vacuum and nobody really willing to push back in collaboration, I think never results in the best work.
Yeah. It also feels like I've been watching a lot of Top Chef. And so it's like someone presenting their meal before the judges. And if they would have just said, this is blank, and then let them eat it, we're good. But they were so descriptive about the process of making it and why they went to this certain garden to pick this certain herb because it's perfect to do that. They've said that so long, the food is cold. And so the experience is completely different.
I have watched, so I'm a big Holiday Baking Champion fan. It starts on Monday. I'm pretty excited about it. On Holiday Baking Champion, I have watched multiple people back themselves into a corner by explaining, whatever, fill in the blank, them being like, and it's blah, 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 and this. And then they could stop talking, but instead they go, and I decided to add a marshmallow cream layer. And then the judges, the marshmallow cream, not part of the assignment. They didn't have to put it.
Yeah.
And then the judges fail them because they can't taste the marshmallow.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you just hadn't said it.
The people who are like, here's a peach cobbler that I made you. And they're like, this is a bread pudding. This is absolutely a bread pudding. Why did you tell me it's a peach cobbler?
It's maybe the best bread pudding I've ever had.
Yeah.
But you told me it was
But
peach
it's the
cobbler.
worst peach cobbler.
Well, and I'm not even meaning that. I'm meaning these guys that put in an ingredient for extra taste and then mention it It's like, shut up, let them enjoy it. Because now they're mad that it's not there. That's the explanation of this movie.
I think that's exactly it.
I've actually talked myself into almost a lower rating than I was coming in with for this movie. As we've talked about it, this is almost a stream. No, you know what? This is a stream for me.
Yeah.
It's a high stream. It's a high stream, but this is a stream it for me. I can't ignore the first hour to give the back hour a boost. You know?
Yeah.
The juxtaposition.
I'm so glad to hear you guys talk about this movie, because when I watched it the first time and I was like, I don't think that's as good as Get Out. I don't think I like that as much. I know we're allowed to talk about, like, I could call you guys. We could talk about a movie without microphones. But something about having it like
official,
formalized, official, that we're all like, I don't know that the end hangs together, makes me feel like there's not something wrong with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like Us. I don't dislike Us. And I liked it the first time I watched it. I have always thought Get Out was better. I don't think that is a controversial position to take on this movie.
No. I think it is one of those that the more you talk about it, the more you realize that
there's nothing there.
Yeah, it's enjoyable to watch, but it's like cotton candy. Then you're not going to get full from that,
right?
You know?
Yeah.
Gosh, food metaphors really rolling.
That's all we ever do.
Right now.
Killing it though. I mean, why not?
That's all we ever do. We're really sort of like donuts in that way. Tune in next week as we talk about the Eternals.
How are we like donuts?
If you don't get
I want
it,
you to finish that.
If you don't get it,
I want you to finish it.
If you don't,
I want you to
finish
it,
then we're just not on.
Is
the
it a
same
Knives Out
page.
reference?
No, you can't cop out. You can't cop out. I need you to explain to me how we are like donuts.
It's like a hole inside of another hole, and inside is a smaller hole.
Look, Doge, I don't want to embarrass you anymore in front of our listeners about you not understanding that perfect.
Have I told you guys about my idea that I really want to pitch to Nothing Bundt Cakes?
No.
I want to, so bundt cakes, like I want the little hole that they cut out of the middle of them sometimes. You know what I'm talking about? To like stuff or whatever, to put the cream or the fruit puree in them.
Uh-huh.
They need to cook those and sell them as bundt holes.
Okay. I'm in. I liked it a lot. If you couldn't tell here live, I like that a lot.
Can you imagine rolling up to a party, like a Thanksgiving party in a couple of weeks? Hey, I've got 4 dozen bundt holes right here.
I'm in. I'm in. Good. I love it.
That's pretty good. Eternals next week, followed by a Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
It's gonna be great.
This will be my first time to watch any of them. Isn't that crazy?
That's so crazy. He's never even heard of Spider-Man before.
I can't wait for you to find out.
There's actually a couple of these. I don't think I've seen any of the Andrew Garfield ones.
Really?
Yeah. I just can't imagine a cat in a saving New York.
Spider-Man's
always
like,
lasagna.
I hate Mondays.
The lasagna really gets in the way of all the crime fighting.
Fights Nermal, his nemesis. To end today's episode, that's the end of Chunktober II, by the way. We did it.
Not with a bang, but with a whimper.
That's true. Next year, let's put together
on the things that everyone is most excited about.
Let's put together a list of movies we want to talk about and then let them vote on it.
No, so I'm glad we talked about Us.
Ari asked.
I'm very glad.
No, I am too.
I'm very glad Us made it in.
I'm too. This is
you
a great
guys,
series.
If you're listening and you voted, you made the right choice. If you're listening and you didn't vote, you didn't make the right choice.
You made the wrong choice.
You made the wrong choice, in fact. To end today's episode, I'd like for each of us to say our name and what activity that our tethered would have to mimic from our lives, that they would have a difficult time doing. For Two Chunks and a Hunk, I'm Jordan Wonders, and I drink so many sparkling waters and burp so frequently that I feel like they would just be swallowing air and giving themselves a tummy ache at all times. And my tether would he would develop language specifically to be like, why do this? Why spicy water? Burn!
I'm Doge. Down in tethered land, they seem to have no form of technology.
Except for lights, fluorescent lights.
Except for lights and elevators or escalators maintained for years and years and years.
Only go down.
That only go down. But if you kind of took a bird's eye view of what I'm doing right now, I'm sitting facing the corner in my office. Like I'm probably 3 feet away from the wall, talking into a computer. And I would look like a crazy person if you took all my tech away. And so my poor tethered is just going to spend at least one morning a week for several hours
Talking
sitting
into
very
a
close
stick.
to a wall and talking straight at it.
I'm Carter, and I'm interested in a very similar scenario, except not the hours and hours, but just that 10 to 15 seconds of the Mini Monday intro. I'm just imagining like grunting, harmonizing. It's already hard enough when...
I'm about to say, we've probably had some of that. Just take a dig back to
we
the old
basically
archive.
have. Oh.
And that's the end of a
blow
podcast
pop.
episode.
Did you say that's a blow pop?
Yeah, listen, there's a commercial, there's a blow pop commercial that I am the only one on earth that remembers. I try and I reference it
definitely
all
don't
the time.
remember whatever.
I have no
And
idea what you're
it's
talking
so
about.
funny. And all these kids are like, that's a blow pop. Anyways,
No. This is all still
No,
in the
it's-
episode.
Yeah, that's not a blow pop.
You know when you order a new video game, or a golf club, or a blender, and then it arrives at your door, you get a little thrill. Imagine how much more thrilling it is when you order a new car. With Nissan at home, you can shop for the perfect ride and order it without ever having to go anywhere. Sure beats a golf club or a blender. Buy a new car entirely online with Nissan at home. Delivered direct from dealer to driveway. Thrill starts here. Services may vary at participating dealers, subject to applicable law. See dealer for details.